Any officers in the class under Sharatazar? All right, go ahead, Sharatazar. You all we got. Brothers then fell out the truth.
Romans chapter 8, start at verse 1, sir.
Yes, sir.
Romans chapter 8 and verse
And
1.
then when he read it, I want you to break it down, the shock, and then once you break it down, then I'll tell you how I would have said it, which I'm pretty sure is gonna be the same or close to it. You know what I'm saying? We just doing it like as if you was teaching the class, and then I'ma back you up. All right. Go ahead, Sharatazar. Let's get it.
Romans chapter 8 and verse 1. There is therefore now no condemnation which
What?
are in Yahushua. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Yahushua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Okay, hold on. This first verse is saying there is therefore now no condemnation, which means there is no disapproval. Look at that word condemnation. There's no strong disapproval of what you're doing to them which are in Yahushua Mashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So you have to be in the Spirit of Yahushua for there to be no condemnation.
What does that mean?
So condemnation.
You defined the word already, right? What does that mean to be condemned? What does that mean?
To be condemned means to be, let's say, if you're, all right, so if you're condemned, that means that you are no longer, let's say, for instance, like you say you want to be, a follower of Christ, you want to be, part of his disciple and be in the kingdom. Like now, you are condemned. If you are put, you are no longer in that. You're not.
Give me Salakia, don't overthink it. Just give me the definition again of what condemned mean.
It says condemn.
I know the root word is condemn. If somebody condemn you, what are they doing to you?
Punishing you.
Right. There you go. So now break it down.
There's no punishment. So therefore, like start from the top, there is therefore no condemnation. So there is no punishment to them which are in Yahushua Mashiach, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So if you're to be in the Spirit of Yahushua Mashiach, you have to be doing exactly what he do and say what he say.
And what did he do?
He kept all the law, statutes, and commandments.
There you go.
For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Yahushua hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Right. So this is saying, like, you are free. I'll read it from the law of the Spirit of life in Yahushua Mashiach. Like, if you are in that life, or you're doing what he said, you're in his Spirit, you're doing what he said, and you're following his ways, now you are free from the law of sin and death, because now you are truly living. You are doing what Yahushua Mashiach did, kept the law, statutes, now,
Salaki, if I could. Remember, right? All you doing is breaking it down for a little kid, for a 3-year-old. Explain it to him. Don't really get deep. Just explain it to him. You know what it's saying, but you also know what a Christian think it's saying, right?
Right.
Separate.
They think they're saying like now the law's done away with.
Right, exactly. Separate the two.
Okay. So it's saying like we're in the law of the spirit of life in Yahweh Shah Jesus Christ made me free from the law of sin and death. So all that's saying is if you are in the spirit of Yahweh Shah Jesus Christ and you're doing what to be in his spirit is to do what he say, do what he said, say what he said, and follow the law, statutes, and commandments, now you are not going to be punished from sinning against the Most High.
So, if you're doing what Christ did, right, and saying what he said, why wouldn't you be, this for everybody else in the class, why wouldn't you be punished?
Because
not you. The other people in the class. Anybody else in the class can answer that. If you doing what Christ said or did, why, and you operating in his spirit and doing what he did, why will you not be punished by the law? Go ahead.
Because Yahweh Shah already took the punishment. He already pulled that punishment for you.
No. Anybody else? Who is that? Hold on 1 second. Let me let a trooper or a young man get it. Go ahead, Marshall Ma.
Because if you live in according to Yahweh Shah's example, you don't have no reason to be getting punished by the law because you're obeying the law. The law is not for people who go on by it. It's people that don't know.
There it is. There it is. You're not going to get punished because you're operating in the spirit of Christ. You're doing what Christ did, which was kept the law. It don't mean that the law is done away with. It don't mean you could do what you want to do because he took the punishment. It means now there is no condemnation, no punishment, right, to them which are in Yahweh Shah Mashiach, or Mashiach Yahweh Shah, who walk not after their own flesh and what they flesh want to do, but after his spirit, meaning they keep the law. For the law of the spirit of life in Christ, Yahweh Shah have made us free from the law of sin and death. Explain to us, priest and officer in the shock, what the law of sin and death is.
Not having the Most High. The law of sin and death is go against the Most High. His law, then you're sinning, and then he's not going to be with you, and that's death to be under the other nation. That's not life. Life is being the head is not the tail.
Yeah, I'm here. All right, this is what I would have said. The law of sin and death is when you sin against the Most High, you die. Following and keeping the spirit of Christ, right? You are free from the law of sin and death because you ain't sinning, and now you don't have to die. You get it? You see how simple? You see how simple that is? What?
Yeah, I get you. I'm trying to explain it too much.
Yeah, you got to simplify. That's what Christ did. He made it where even a 3-year-old can get it. All right, so that's verse 2. Go ahead to verse 3, which is the one you wanted broke down, right?
Uh,
Or, or was it verse 2?
yeah, it was 2. But yeah, 3 is the one we had in the notes. So yeah, I got something written down. But I'll go ahead and start with something.
Go right ahead.
Verse 3. Romans chapter 8 and verse 3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. All right. So this scripture, man, this scripture is like real heavy, but I'm gonna try to keep it simple. It says, for what the law could not do, that in that it was weak through the flesh. So basically, this is saying like the flesh, like the Most High, he gave us laws and sacrifice, and we would just, our flesh, we would just, okay, you would sin and then just go and sacrifice a dove. Like you knew, like your flesh was weak to the law, because the law was, if you sin, all you had to do was sacrifice. So we would know, okay, all I got to do is sacrifice the dove, and I can go and sleep with his brother, his rib, you know what I mean? So that means what the law could not do, and that it was weak through the flesh. God sending his own Son in the likeness of sin for flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh. So this is saying that Yahushua Mashiach he was made just like his brothers. He was flesh and blood, but he did not sin. He overcame sin. He condemned sin by not sinning and just, sacrificing doves. And that's how he condemned sin in the flesh.
Romans chapter 8, verse 3. You ready? All right, Romans chapter 8, verse 3. The brothers, it says, for what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness, we didn't get to that part, right?
We didn't get to that.
Okay. All right, so for what the law could not do. Question that I would ask is, it says in here that the law could not do something. Was there something wrong with the law? Go ahead.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with the law. We just didn't know, we didn't have brotherhood to know how to keep the law, and Yahushua came and showed us how to keep the law.
Yeah. Okay, so what does he mean when he say what the law could not do? If the law was straight, well, why couldn't the law do it?
Because just the law alone could not, keep brothers from sinning. So you had to have a certain spirit, and Yahushua showed you how to have a certain spirit that you would not sin.
All right, somebody give me turn one page. Give me Romans chapter 7. Go ahead.
If I could help out on like what he said, I know. I feel like what he getting at is that the law itself was it wasn't on the spiritual aspect of it. Like we were going by the letter of the law, like we said before. You know, you sin, you kill a dove, or someone committing adultery, they get stoned. You know what I'm saying? And Christ showed us the spirit of the law as to where, you know what I'm saying, there's a reason behind these laws.
Nashak, is that what you were saying?
I was saying, Yahweh Shai showed us how, like you said, we didn't have brotherhood. So Yahweh Shai Mashiach came and showed us, how to keep the law and why. You know what I mean? The brotherhood.
What you're saying is true, but I don't know that it's found within this scripture. Let me read it again. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh. Give me Romans chapter 7, Itazab, and let's start at verse 10 real quick. Everybody hold your place at Romans 8. Go ahead.
If I may, I actually had a question in verse 7.
Romans 7?
Romans 7 and 7.
We can start there. What was your question first?
Well, actually, I just wanted to break down Romans 7.
All right, cool. We'll start there. But we need to get to probably like 12 or 14. So just read it kind of fast, and I'll let you read it, and I'll go back and then break it down. If you want to start, if you need to start a little bit earlier, let me see. No. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 7, verse 7.
Now, think about this. Think about this for everybody that's on the line, that's in the class, right? Sometimes in the Bible, you might have to go back a whole chapter to get the context. We usually do about 2 or 3 verses. Just, that's just typical, truth 101, right? But sometimes you may have to go back and figure out when he started talking, what was he talking about? Who was he talking to? What is this about? Y'all done seen in this class plenty of times where I'll say, well, go back to the end of the chapter before that and get the context of what he was talking about. So here we are. We was in Romans 8, and he's talking about the law, right? And he's saying that the Most High sent his son in sinful flesh in order to condemn sin. So there's no condemnation. So this is what it's talking about. Now, Isaiah had a question on Romans chapter 7. I was going to start at 10. So go ahead and start at 7.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet.
Stop right there. What shall we say then is a question. So basically, if you go back up, it's basically he's saying, oh, you know how people say, with that being said, it's like that. With that being said, all this stuff I said before then, do you think I'm trying to say that the law is the reason we sin? Hell no, I'm not trying to say that. If anybody know, when we see God forbid in the Bible, we translate that to hell no, all right? So what shall we say then? Is the law sin? Hell no. No, I had not even known sin, but by the law. The precept is that is sin is a transgression of the law. So if you don't have no law, you don't have no sin. So how is the law sin? That's not what he's saying. He's making it clear that that's not what he's saying. And his example is, for I wouldn't have known what lust is, except for the Bible said not to covet. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Don't lust after your neighbor's wife. Right? If there was no law that said that was wrong, how would I even know that was wrong? That's what he's saying. You got your answer to the question? All right, read on. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, so basically, if I make, basically it's saying like really what I was trying to focus on was the part where he's saying, I had not known lust. So basically, you saying that that it's saying like if I had it, if they kept the law, that commandment, I wouldn't have known that this is bad.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. If the law wasn't there to tell you, this is what we say all the time. Like, pork is delicious. Like, weed and hoes and everything else is fun. How do you know it's wrong? What makes it wrong? Is it wrong because it's a pig? No. It's wrong because the Lord said it was wrong. When he says don't do something, that's what makes it wrong. Now, in his infinite wisdom and knowledge, he's way 10 times smarter than you. So now we give practical reasons, like right now, where the Lord said, be separate from other nations, be separate from everybody, be holy, means to separate yourself. Now, everybody want to separate themselves. Well, we've been saying it not because we smarter than anybody else, it's because we have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High. Without these laws, statutes, and commandments, we are just like any other people on the face of the earth. This is what separates you. Precept. Marsha Moore know this one. Maybe he don't. Anybody else know it?
I don't remember.
Deuteronomy 4 and 6. Go ahead and somebody else grab that. Itazab, stay where you at. Shiratazai, go ahead and grab that for me. Any other troopers besides Marsha Moore in the class? All right, no sweat. Any other young men? 1 second. Any other young men in the class? All right, no sweat. Go ahead, Art.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. Eat therefore and do this.
Go up to verse 5. Salaki. Go to verse 5.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Most High, my power, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Eat therefore and do this, for this is your wisdom.
This is your what?
Understanding.
This is your what?
Your wisdom. Your wisdom.
What does it mean to be wise? It means that you understand what the Lord is saying. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. This is your wisdom. Keep going.
Oh God. And your understanding in the sight of the nation.
There it is right there. There it is right there. This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. Right? Now, that's all Paul is talking about here. He's saying, like, basically, how would I even know, what to do and what not to do if we didn't have a law that says we was going to do it? We would eat whatever we want, just like everybody else, smoke and drink and sleep with. You know what I'm saying? There had to be a law that says you cannot sleep with your father's wife. You cannot sleep with your sister. You cannot sleep with your daughter. Other than that, we would be barbarians just like all the other nations are. You got that, Itazar, right? Romans chapter 7, verse 7 is saying, that's what he's saying. I wouldn't even know what was right and what was wrong. I wouldn't even know not to covet my neighbor's wife. I wouldn't even know not to lust after my neighbor's wife if there wasn't a law that said it. You just be like, ooh, You know what I'm saying? You got the big eyes or whatever, not even understanding that you sleeping with her can lead to destruction if the Lord didn't tell you not to. You get it? All right. You sure? All right. Go ahead to verse 8, or go ahead and drop down to 10 for time's sake.
Verse 10. And the commandment which is ordained to life, I found to be unto death. For sin taking occasion by the commandment deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy.
This is Paul, right? The main person that the Christians would say condemned the law or said something was wrong with the law, right? When we was just in verse 8, you could have took it and said, he said what? Because the law, what was the law was weak because of flesh. He was saying that something was wrong with the law, right? But earlier, one chapter before that, read verse 7 again. What it say? I mean, verse 10? Or was that verse 11?
And the commandment, for sin taking occasion by the commandment deceived me, and by it slew me.
Sin, right? Because of the commandments, because the Lord said not to eat it, not to do it, not to be a homosexual, right? Now you have a punishment. You have to die because you disobeyed the Most High. It's not that this is wrong within itself, it's that you were given wisdom to be wiser than any other nation and not to do it. Somebody tell me if they don't understand what I'm saying. All right. So by occasion, because he gave us this law, or whatever the case may be, and we still wanted to do it, that basically took care of, or what he's saying, slew me. Like, that's the reason you're going to die, because the wages of sin is what? Death. Let me bring it all back to you. Read verse 12.
Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good.
And what? What was the last one? And just, and what?
And good.
The law is good. The law is holy and just. Right? Go back to Romans 8 and 3. He's already said that the law is holy and just, and the commandments are good and just and everything. Now, whoever was reading, I believe it was Ratazai, Romans chapter 8, verse 3.
Romans chapter 8 and verse 3. For what the law could not do, and that it was weak through the flesh.
Through the what?
God sending his own through the flesh.
Through the flesh. That's the only problem with the law. It wasn't the law itself, it was us. We could not follow the law because we were following our flesh. Just like he said about lust. I would not have known lust if it wasn't for the law. Naturally, you'll lust after somebody. Naturally, you'll want to eat anything that's done, that got seasoning on it, that smell good, that tastes good. You'll eat it naturally. But that's carnality. But remember what verse 1 said. When you're walking after Christ, you're not walking in your flesh, but you're walking after his spirit, meaning you're keeping them laws, statutes, and commandments. That becomes more important than what you want to eat, what you want to smoke, who you want to have sex with, etc., etc. Everybody understand? So what the law couldn't do because of your flesh was weak. Keep going.
God sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh.
The Lord sent his son in this same flesh that you in to prove a point. Go ahead.
God. And for sin, condemned sin in the flesh.
And what he did is came down and he punished the flesh. He killed the flesh. He killed the flesh. Somebody tell me. Go ahead.
He killed the flesh by not doing what the flesh told him to do. By keeping the law.
Yes, but how do you do that? You're right. How do you do it?
He did it by not listening to his flesh.
How do you not listen to your flesh?
He was in the spirit of the Most High.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. That's what he looking for. He killed the flesh by using the spirit. Because a carnal mind cannot keep the laws of God. Are y'all familiar with that precept? There we go. There's more precepts. Also, so give me Ezekiel 36 and 27. You got it? Go ahead with it.
Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 27. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them.
Read it again.
And ye shall dwell.
Read it again.
And I will put my spirit within you.
What is the Most High saying he's going to do? He's going to give you his spirit. Keep going. And the Holy Spirit going to cause you to do what? Keep going.
And cause you to walk in my statutes.
And cause you to jump around and shout.
And I will cause you to walk in my statutes.
This is going to cause you to lay down on the floor and not be able to move.
And cause you to walk in my statutes.
The Lord's Spirit will cause you to walk and do what he said to do. Everybody get that, right? Keep going.
And you shall keep my judgment and do them.
That's it. That's it. Now, go back to Romans chapter 8. Where we was just at, right? We was on verse 3. Skip down to verse 7. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 8. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God.
What does that word enmity mean? Enmity. Go ahead.
To fight against.
That's right. You enemies. It's like enemy. It's an adversary. The carnal mind, you in your flesh and thinking of how you think naturally is against the spiritual thing. Remember, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Spirit, the same spirit we was just reading about in Ezekiel 37 and 20. This is the same spirit that Christ gave when he left and said, now you have a comforter. This is the spirit of the Most High. The same spirit he operated in, now you must have that spirit on you, which is Romans 8 and 1. Because the carnal mind is an enemy to the Most High. Keep going.
God, for it is not subject to the law of God.
Wait a minute. Somebody explain that to me. Why is you operating in your flesh not subject to the law of the Most High? Go ahead.
For it is not subject to the law of God. Because, like what was right or wrong if it wasn't for God telling them what's right.
Right, but now that you know What's the difference between you subjecting yourself? I'm saying it like this to give it to you. What's the difference between you subjecting yourself to your flesh and subjecting yourself to the laws, statutes, and commandments?
Being in the spirit, sir.
No man can serve two masters. Y'all follow me? No man can. Okay, so who do you subject yourself to? Go ahead.
So you would subject yourself to Christ, and Christ, you know what I mean? Like, it's basically, you know what I mean? Like, it's the Most High Christ, and then man. So we subject ourselves to Christ.
Absolutely, but what is that going to cause you to do? Exactly what Ezekiel 36 and 27 said. It's going to cause you to subject yourself to the Most High and do what He said and keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. Or you could do what you feel like doing, which is what your body feel like doing. I just feel like, rolling a fat one and chilling and smoking and dealing with somebody else's one, or whatever niggas do. Have oral sex with other men and whatever they do. That's what your body tells you to do. Eating whatever you want to do. Going, fulfilling whatever lust you tell you to do. Or you can do what the Lord said to do. But no man can serve two masters. You're going to choose one. So now, if you're operating in your flesh, you're an enemy to the Most High. And you are not subjecting yourself to the laws of God. Neither can you. Or did we get to that part? Read the last part in verse 7.
Neither indeed can be.
It can't be. You cannot follow yourself or your own carnal thoughts or your own natural being and follow the Most High at the same time, because they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Everybody understand, right? Anybody not understand? Just to sum it all up, read verse 8.
So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God.
You got it. Shalom. All right. Any other questions? No other questions. All right. Let me get boom. 1 Corinthians 3 and 2. Truth 101. Every Monday night is what we do. Go ahead and go into our topic. I don't know if I'm going to get to finish it tonight. Maybe I could if I speed up. Whoever got the dog in the background, go ahead and put yourself on mute. Somebody else, let me get 1 Corinthians 3 and 2.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 2.
This is Paul talking to the church of Corinth. Go ahead.
I have fed you with milk and not with meat.
Mm-hmm.
For hitherto ye were not able to bear it. Neither yet now are you able.
Here it is. This is Paul talking to them now. It's Paul talking about pulling out, a baby bottle and having them suck on the baby bottle and get nourishment and food and all of that. No, he's talking about feeding a spiritual man. When he says, I have fed you, he's talking about where you eating at. What food? Man shall not live by bread alone, but by the words that come from the Most High. Where are you getting that from? Where are you getting that nourishment from that's going to make you stronger? Paul said, I have fed you with milk. I broke this thing all the way down to the most basic form of nourishment that you can get. I ain't gave you nothing too heavy that you can't understand it, because you wasn't able to understand the heavy things of the Most High. Neither yet now are you able, so you're still not. This is what he's talking about, and this is what we do every Monday night. You can have all these brothers that are going to go into the scriptures a lot deeper than me, but it's certain things that you need to know just starting off. You know what I'm saying? Just to get your ground, your feet in the ground, just to get you some solid standing and understanding of what it is we teach here at the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. And that's what we do here every Monday night. All right. So that being said, what we're going to do, what was another word for that being said? Now, what should we say then? Now, what should we say then? Right? This is what we're going to go into tonight. I don't think we did this in a while. Somebody give me Exodus chapter 12, right? We go to Exodus chapter 12, usually on the high holy days. One of the hardest things for me to understand, I came in, I understood that, we were the children of Israel. Anybody got any questions about some precepts about why we think we the children of Israel and why we think that the people over there in Israel are not the real Israelites, and why we believe that Negroes, Hispanics, Native American Indians are, is because of the curses. It's Deuteronomy 28. Also because of the things that would befall Israel in the last days that was spoken of when Isaac was giving the prophecy about that. All right. So now in Exodus, okay, now that we are in 2020, we know we're Israelites, right? And here's the thing. There is a word that's used in the Old and New Testament that could jam you up if you don't understand the context of what's being spoke. And that word is Gentile. Somebody get me the word Gentile in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. All right? Here's the thing. The Bible, from Genesis to Revelations, including the Apocryphal, was only written for one people and one group of people and one family on the earth. Somebody get me Amos chapter 3 real quick.
You want Amos chapter 3 right now?
Yes, sir.
Got it. Amos chapter 3.
Let's get it.
Amos chapter 3. Hear this word that the Most High has spoken against you, O children of Israel.
Oh, who?
O children of Israel.
This is the only people he talking to. Now, go ahead. Keep going.
Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
Now, the Lord is speaking to us as a family, right? The whole family. Now, you got to remember that when we talk about a nation, we're talking about family. There's 18 nations, 18 families on the earth, and they all have a progenitor. That's the name where they come from. All right? The Moabites come from Moab, who is in the Bible as a person, right? Esau comes from Esau, who is a person in the Bible. Ham comes from Ham. Ham, Shem, Japheth, right? A person in the Bible. Israelites come from Israel. And this is the main and key factor in our lineage. So he's talking about a family. Who is the father of that family? Israel. Abraham, Isaac, and who? Jacob, who changed names, was changed to Israel. Now, you are who this is talking about in Amos. Go ahead.
Oh God, say, you only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Of all the families on the earth, the Lord only knows one. And who did he say it was in verse 1? The children of Israel. Once you establish that, you realize from Genesis to Revelation, this Bible is only about one family, one nation, one group of people on the earth, and everything from his covenants. Give me Romans chapter 9. Give me Romans chapter 9, verse 2. Real quick. Everything in this Bible is only about them. Now, maybe some of y'all came from the streets and you don't have no background knowledge about the Bible. Some brothers did that. I was speaking to a brother one time in the truth, and he was like, "Yo, I didn't know nothing about that. I ain't worried. I wasn't studying the Bible before I came into the truth." It was easier for him to grasp certain things. He didn't even understand why we broke down John 3:16. Why was that even a part of the text? What was so important about that? Because he was never a church Christian or taught by a church Christian, right? But for a brother like me, I was raised in the church, raised around church people. So I understood, okay, this is what we have to deprogram people from in order for us to be able to give them the milk, the truth, right? What did I ask for? All right, just make sure we got it. You only have I known out of all the nations of the earth. So we can go ahead and drop that and go to Romans chapter 9, verse 2. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 9, verse 2. I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. There's something else, sir.
That's it.
Okay, kind of fine. Verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren.
There it is. So Paul is saying, I have great heaviness in my heart because I wish that I could do what Christ did, right? And take a curse for my entire nation, for my brethren. Keep going. Who is his brethren?
My kinsmen according to the flesh.
According to what? To the spirit.
According to the flesh.
Could he have said my kinsmen according to the spirit? That ain't who he was talking about. This is about family. Family is your bloodline, right? They're like, well, how can y'all be some kin to the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans and the Taino Indians and all these different people? How could y'all be some kin to the Haitians and the Jamaicans? Because we all trace our lineage back to one man, who is Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. I wish that myself were accursed for my brethren according to the flesh, my family, the only family that the Lord have known, according to Amos chapter 3 and verse 2. Keep going.
Verse 4. Who are Israelites?
Who are what?
Who are Israelites?
Paul's kinsmen that he's talking about are Israelites. Keep going.
Oh God. To whom pertaineth the adoption?
Right?
And the glory.
The adoption is John chapter 1 verse 12. The glory. Go ahead. Who's going to be glorified and placed at the top of all nations when Christ returns? Keep going.
Oh God. In the covenant.
And the covenants. All the covenants. Think about this in Isaiah and Jeremiah and all these places where they talking about the covenant. The old one was given to Israel. The new one, you only have I known, is what he said. The covenants was only given to Israel. Keep going.
Oh God. In the giving of the law.
And the law. That's Psalms chapter 1, what is it, 147, 19 and 20? The law was only given to one people. This is your wisdom in the sight of the other nations. They don't have the law. They don't have this wisdom. The Lord ain't talking to them. He don't know them. From Genesis to Revelations is about one family. You only have I known. Keep going.
Oh God. In the service of God.
Who can do the will in the service of the Most High? Everybody on the planet is doing what the Lord wants them to do, but it's only one group of people that the Lord puts in charge to try to do something that he wants done for the children of Israel. That's it. Everybody else is just tools that's used. The precept is the world was made for our sake, right? The only reason Esau has a place at the top is because we failed the Most High. It's to prove us. That's the reason for the other nation. That's why he said, if you don't want to serve me, then you serve a no people. But everything is my point. Everything in the Bible is only talking about one people. Keep going.
In the service of God, in the promises.
And the promises, all these promises that you will be the head, not the tail, above, not the low, the lender, not the borrower, right? All the things that you're going to reign with Christ for 1,000 years and all these things in Revelations. So I just went from all the way at the beginning to the end, and all of these promises were for Israel. Keep going.
Verse 5. Who are the fathers in a room as concerning the flesh?
Christ came for one self and one group of people. I am not sick but of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, is what Christ said out of his own mouth. How in the world does Christ become dying and giving his life for everybody? It's doctrine. It's not the Bible. It's not the scriptures. Everybody understand? Now, here's the jam up. There's a word called Gentile in the Bible. That's why it can mean two different things. Somebody got the definition? Let's get it.
Gentiles, on the Bible dictionary. Nation, people. Usually, it means a non-Israelite people.
This word is relative. It is a, what's the word they say? Where you're not using specific. It's a general word. And generally, it means nations or people. Is the nation of Israel people? Is the nation of Israel a nation? Yes. Is the nation of Israel Gentiles? Usually, read it again. Usually what?
Usually, it means a non-Israelite.
Usually, when you see that word, it means non-Israelites. Usually. Most of the time, when you see that word, especially in the Old Testament, it's referring to non-Israelite nation or group of people. Does that mean always? No. Everybody understand? This is the one thing, this and weed, that held me up. I was like, wait a minute. You can't be telling me Paul was only talking to Israelites. Was he? How does an Israelite become a Gentile? But let's find out. Exodus chapter 12, verse 14. Somebody give it to me.
Exodus chapter 12 and verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Most High throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
Right. So this is what I believe is talking about the Passover, which would have been in a couple of days. We supposed to have been leaving to go to New York tomorrow, but the Lord have sent plagues on this nation. Therefore, the nation is unclean. Therefore, we are not able to keep the feast of the Passover. Otherwise, that's what we would be doing. But this is in the law, and it's telling you to keep this as a memorial forever, right? Go to the next one.
Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
There it is right there. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, basically keeping the feast on this day, and then you have these 7 days where you should eat unleavened bread and shall put leaven out of your houses. Whoever don't do it, who don't eat who eateth leavened bread and don't eat unleavened bread for them 7 days, that soul shall be what?
Cut off from
I
Israel.
mean, cut off from Israel. What does that mean? That means you are Israel, but you are not Israel. Everybody understand that, right? You Israel, but you are not Israel. Give me Exodus chapter 31, verse 14.
Exodus chapter 31 and verse 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that despiseth it shall surely be put to death.
Now, there were priests in the earth right now that had the authority to do it. If you did not keep the Sabbath, you will be put to death. But now, let's say you're not put to death, right? We're in a situation where we're in now. Go ahead.
For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people.
What does that mean? Cut off. You cut off. If somebody say you cut off, one of your homeboys you been hanging with rolling tight, man, I'm cutting you off. You cut off. Your woman, you cut off. You tell your woman she cut off. What does that mean? Go ahead. I'll let the young man go. Go ahead, DeAndre. Go ahead.
That means that we ain't messing with you no more.
I ain't messing with you. You my people. Like, you my family. You know what I'm saying? You my cousin. You my homeboy. I'm not messing with you no more. You're not me. You're not my family. I'm not treating you like my family no more. Everybody understand, right? You cut off from your people. You cut off from it. You don't keep the Sabbath. You don't keep the Passover. You cut off. Now, your bloodline still says that you're Israel. But the Lord don't see you as such. The Lord sees you as a heathen nation, a Gentile. Give me Leviticus chapter 7 and verse 27. Let me see if anybody else want to read. I'll let the brother read if y'all just want to fall back and just not participate in class. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got
it. Go ahead. Shiraz out. Put your feet up, OG. Shiraz out. Put your feet up, OG. Salakia. That's an inside joke. Go ahead. Go ahead, I just.
Leviticus chapter 7, verse 17. But the remainder of
verse 27. Verse 27.
Oh, sorry. Verse 27. Whatsoever soul it be that eateth any manner of blood, even that soul shall be cut off from his people.
Shall be cut off from his people for eating blood. So now we just got, you don't keep the Passover, right? You don't keep the Sabbath. You eat your steak medium rare, right? Give me Leviticus. Go ahead.
The my job today, he was telling me how he was hanging out with one of his white friends, and he would just pull out a piece of raw meat and eat it like on the go, like as if it was a snack.
Yeah, here's the difference. The only difference between us and that is the laws. Because if the laws didn't tell us not to, I know brothers right now. My brother is a chef at Le Cordon Bleu, right? And what they did is, in order for them, when he went to school to learn how to cook a steak, they made them eat a rare steak. Now, this brother has never eaten that in his life, right? But they made him do it. Now that he's a chef, that's the only way he wants to eat it, medium rare. When you cook a steak all the way, Esau will tell you you're burning up or ruining a perfectly good steak. So That's what the other nations do. The only difference between them and us is our God told us not to. Right? We just read it in what? Leviticus 7. Go to Leviticus 17 and verse 10.
Leviticus 17, verse 10. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people.
Drop down to verse 14. What does it say?
Like you started, a quick question.
Go ahead.
Is that kind of like ammo to say that a stranger can be your people? Because it says all of the strangers that sojourn among you, I will cut him off from among his people. Like,
You would understand it like that because you're a priest, but the average Christian or somebody like that would not understand it that way. They would still think that that stranger could be another nation, even though it clearly says, "I will cut him off from among his people." What is the point in getting cut off from being Moab or any of the other nations that the Lord didn't choose? The only thing that's important about being cut off is that you're the people that the Lord chose. So to cut you off from being the chosen people is a big deal. So yeah, it is. I don't know how you would break that down to make somebody who don't understand the importance of being Israel, to make them understand the point of being cut off. But I'm bringing it out to show y'all the importance of being cut off and why us being cut off was important and why we were being called Gentiles in the New Testament. Keep going now. Verse 14.
Verse 14. For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore, I stand to the children of Israel. You shall eat blood of no manner of flesh. For the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off.
Y'all get the point, right? Give me Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 1. Somebody else besides Sharatazar and Aitazar.
Sir. It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Moloch, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones.
So just like we're eating blood, you shall be put to death for some of these things. Go to verse 3.
Verse 3. And I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he hath given of his seed unto Moloch, to defile my sanctuary, and to profane my holy name.
How did we profane his holy name? By serving other gods, because we are Yah, Shar, Allah, Shar, Prince. We are princes of God. We are princes of the power. Right? That's how we profane it. If you ain't the Lord's people, you can do whatever you want to do. You can serve whatever God you want to serve. He ain't gave his laws, statutes, and commandments to you. We already went through all of that. Drop down to verse 6.
Oh, God.
There it is. You cut off again. The Lord ain't dealing with you. He done turned his face. He done turned his face from away from you, right? There it is. That's what that means. You are just like the other nations. You are no longer under the covenants. What it say in verse 9? The promises and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and all that belongs to the Israelites. So if there's certain things in the law, if you do them, the Lord cuts you off from being an Israelite. You are no longer a part of the nation of Israel. He don't see you that way, and therefore the other children of Israel who are following and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments should not see you that way as well. Everybody understand so far? Give me. Let's bring it to the New Testament. Give me Matthew chapter 18, verse 17. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a Republican.
Not a Republican.
Salakia.
Just a publican. Yeah. So now this is talking about your brother who was an Israelite. And if you got to alter him, me and you get into it, you got a problem with me, you come to me and me alone and say, hey, brother, I got a problem with the way you came at me or whatever the case may be. There's one or two things I can do. I can say, all right, I hear you, and maybe I shouldn't have came at you like that. Or I could say, I feel like I was right. I did not transgress against you. I didn't break no laws. You just in your feelings, right? Either way, one or two things. Now, if I say no, I don't agree with you, you take it to 2 or 3 other brothers that's over me or whatever, over both of us, so they can hear the matter and then they can do it. That's a council. And if they hear that, then you can bring it to the entire school. Everybody in the school got to know. I came at this brother this way. We had a council. I didn't agree with it. Now I want to take this to the school because the council I feel was unfair. Right? This is what happens. This is how you're supposed to deal with each other. Now, this is your brother. This is y'all, Israel. Y'all Israel just like me. I ain't no more Israel than you. Now, I done brought it to the school, and if he neglect to hear them, meaning the council, then you could tell it to the whole school. But if he neglect to hear the whole school, everybody like, bruh, you might as well chill. Get out your feelings. You just in your feelings, brother. He did not transgress the law against you. He's only telling you what any other prophet in the Bible would have told you. Now, if he don't want to hear them, entire everybody that's following Yahushua, then now this brother can be to thee as a heathen, meaning another nation, or a publican. So he's done went from being your brother to being just like Esau, just like Moab, just like Ham, just like any other people. Everybody understand?
Oh, God.
What you got to understand, let's go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. I'm trying to roll through them because I got a whole bunch. A whole bunch. I would probably have to skip some of them. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. These 12 Yahushua sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans. Enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So this is Yahushua just making a claim. Like when he's sending forth his disciples, he telling them who to go to. And he's saying, don't go to the Gentiles. This means that the Lord was not dealing with the other nations. And he was specific. Then he said, but this is who you should go to. The lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now here's the thing though. The lost sheep of the house of Israel was not keeping the Passover. It was not keeping the Sabbath day. Was eating blood. Was not hearing the people that were in the truth. So what would they be considered to other people who thought they were better than them? Anybody?
Lucky, sir.
Go ahead.
They would have been Gentiles.
They would have been heathens. They would have been Gentiles, right? Somebody give me Matthew. Well, first of all, I write this down. 2 Kings 17, 22 through 26, right? This is when the split happened. You can write that down. We're not going to read it. But we were one nation and became two nations. So now you got 9.5 tribes. And then you got 2.5 tribes. Two and a half tribe was Judah, Benjamin, and parts of Levi. The 9.5 tribe was the other 10 tribes or 9 tribes, and the other half of Levi. Split because some of them did not want to follow the king that the Lord put in place, and they went about to do their own thing. So once that thing, we became not one nation but two nations. And the people that were still in Israel, matter of fact, let me go ahead and read it real quick. Let me see. Do I want to do that? Yeah, give me 2 Kings 17 and 22. I can't skip it because here's the thing. When you run into people who don't believe in the New Testament, they believe that Paul was teaching actual other nations. And they don't believe that this law was given to the other nations, which they're correct. But here's the thing. You got to understand what happened that made those people that they was teaching be called other nations. So let's go ahead and get it. Go ahead, Nashak. Go ahead and read it.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 17 and verse 22. For the children of Israel walked in other stairs of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them. Until the Most High removed Israel out of his sight. As he had said, the prophet, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
Stop right there. Keep going. No, stop right there. I'll just leave it right there. Think about it like this. The Lord removed all of us out of the land. He looked at all of us, but he said, I am not going to be their God, and they will not be my people. Everybody familiar with that precept, or we got to go get it? Oh. Okay. If y'all familiar with that precept, anybody not, just let me know. Go give me Maccabees. First book of Maccabees, chapter 1, and verse 41. In case y'all ain't paying attention, this is the case that I'm making. The Gentiles in the New Testament, majority of the time when it's speaking of them, is talking about Israelites who have gone astray. Israelites who are not a part of the fold and following after the king that the Lord set up, not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Whoever got it, go ahead and read it. Let me let the young man go ahead and read it. Go ahead, DeAndre. Nashak, put your feet up, OG. go ahead, go ahead,
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King
Antiochus
wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
One what it is? One nation. Under